let's talk about something that's maybe not as flashy as getting rich, but it's way, way more important, and that is not going broke. Today, we're going to look at a simple, often overlooked tool that can be the difference between staying in the game and getting completely wiped out.
Oh man, they really do. The market has this unbelievable knack for making you feel like a genius, right? It rewards you, makes you feel overconfident, especially when everything's green. But just when you start to feel invincible, it has a funny way of reminding you, very, very suddenly, that gravity is still a thing.
And look, this isn't some new secret. History gives us the exact same blueprint over and over again. It doesn't matter if you're talking about the dot-com bubble in 2000, the financial meltdown in 2008, or the rate hike crash in 2022. The pattern it's identical. You get this period of absolute euphoria, which leads to this dangerous sense of complacency, and it always ends with a sudden, painful correction. So that brings us right to our first big point. Gravity always works. A big, rip-roaring rally can trick our brains into thinking that the basic laws of risk have somehow been repealed just for us. Spoiler alert, they haven't. And this is the emotional roller coaster that traps so many people. It starts with that euphoria, that feeling that the good times will just roll on forever. That breeds complacency, where we kind of forget about managing risk. And then, bam, in comes the market's swift and brutal reality check. And here is the core delusion of a bull market. A green day, or heck, even a green month, doesn't cancel out the laws of risk. It feels great, sure, but it gives you zero guarantees about what's around the corner. The risk of a massive red day is always there. It just hasn't shown up on your screen. Yet. Okay, so if we know that a downturn is basically inevitable, even if we don't know when, what can we actually do about it? Well, this brings us to the idea of a financial seatbelt, a pretty simple tool for navigating that crash when it finally comes. I mean, think about it like this. You get in a car, you click on your seatbelts. You're not planning to crash, right? You hope you never need it, but you wear it just in case. So what if you could do the exact same thing for your investments? Well, turns out you can. It's called put protection. You can think of it like taking a tiny slice of your portfolio and buying what is, for all intents and purposes, insurance. We're talking about specific options that are designed to explode in value when the overall market tanks, and that creates a powerful cushion to absorb the shock. And here's the thing that surprises most people. The cost for this protection can be really low. We are not talking about some huge portfolio draining cost here. For your stock exposure, it's a tiny 1 to 3% allocation. It's literally disaster insurance. And a pro tip, the best time to buy insurance is when the skies are clear and calm, because that's when it's cheapest. So let's just lay out the choice here. On one side, you have the cost of the seatbelt. It's a small, known price you pay. On the other side, the cost of the crash. A massive, totally unknown loss when the market drops 30, 40, maybe 50%. Just imagine you had this back in 2008. A small 2% cost could have saved you from 20 or 30% of your losses. You'd have had cash to go shopping at the bottom. When you look at it that way, the choice becomes pretty obvious, doesn't it? But, having the right tool is only half the battle. The other half, and frankly, the harder half, is fighting our own psychology. So let's dig into how our own brains can become our absolute worst enemy in the market. This sentence right here, it is so, so dangerous because it's the exact moment healthy confidence curdles into reckless overconfidence. Look, being bullish is fantastic, but being so bullish that you throw risk management out the window, that is a recipe for disaster. Trust me, survival feels a whole lot better than confidence in the long run. Our brains have this funny little glitch. We're wired to just assume that whatever's happening right now is going to keep happening forever. The market's going up, so it's just going to keep going up. And this isn't just an investing problem. It's the exact same flawed logic that had people in 2006 saying, oh, housing prices never go down around here. Yeah, we all know how that movie ended. And then when the crash finally does hit, another dangerous part of our brain kicks in. That little voice, the one that whispers, hey, don't sell. It's just a dip. It'll bounce back. That voice, man, it's rooted in our hatred of taking a loss. But make no mistake, that little voice of hope has wiped out more accounts than any single market event in history. So, how do we fight back? How do we fight our own instincts when they're screaming at us to do the wrong thing? Well, you need a playbook. You need a set of practical, pre-decided rules to help you stay in the game when everything goes haywire.
This right here is the classic path to zero, and it happens way faster than you think. It starts with a big drop. Your positions are bleeding out. That little voice kicks in, tells you to just hold on, wait for the bounce. So you do. You just watch. You watch as the market drops another 30%. And by the time it's all over, your capital is just gone. There's nothing left to rebuild with.
This is why we have to completely reframe what selling actually means. It's not admitting you failed, it's a strategic retreat. You're preserving your capital, your army, so you have the resources to fight again when a better opportunity comes along. You're choosing to survive for the next war instead of dying in this one.
A really sharp red day triggers a literal, chemical fight or flight response in your brain. So the best thing you can possibly do is to not act at all. Pause. Step away from the computer. Go for a walk. I promise, the market's irrationality will still be there when you get back. The key is to never ever make a permanent decision based on the temporary pain of one really bad day.
All right, so let's zoom out for a minute and talk about what it really means to win the long game. Because true success in the markets isn't about one heroic trade. It's about decades of simple survival. This is the absolute core of the survivor's mindset. Here's the secret. You don't need a crystal ball. You don't have to predict the next crash. You just have to have a plan so you don't get vaporized when it finally shows up. It just means staying humble when you're winning and having the discipline to cut your losses fast when the game changes. Ultimately, this is why survival is everything. Every single dollar you preserve during a downturn is a dollar you get to deploy when assets are cheap and fear is through the roof. The capital you save today is what fuels your absolute best opportunities tomorrow. And that's really the bottom line. The real goal isn't to be the hero of the current rally. It's just to make sure you're still in the game, with your capital intact, ready for the next one. Stay alive out there.